Here is the 4-cylinder Henderson Deluxe motor. Going by the VIN numbers, this is a 1924. I don't really know anything about these motors. What I've been told by people that know more than me is it's not the right magneto. It's a common thing to use off a tractor or whatever would work. The carb's missing. They did put this paper in here which says 1968 on it. So it's been sitting for 42 years. The manifold's on upside down. They had a carburetor going the other way. I think they did that because they made this homemade exhaust, which is pretty neat. The flanges might be original, but the rest is obviously homemade. I believe they use this for a stationary motor because it is wired to a little pallet and has a long lever so you can start it with your hand. This is barn fresh. Came out of the barn yesterday. Last night I took all these caps off and filled it up with a mixture of part oil, non-detergent, and part kerosene. Tilted it this way and filled it up. That's why this motor was nice and dry, looking like this here. It was stored well, but when I was filling this up I kind of slopped some of the solution so it ran down and kind of made it a little oily looking, but it was a nice dry clean motor. Otherwise, I guess somebody said this, I think this is a breather that's been shaved off for some reason. Looks kind of intentional, I think. They did weld this onto the shaft so they could start it with their hand. As of now, I think the motor's still stuck. If you try to move this, it moves so far, hits a certain point, and when you want to put pressure on it to kick it over, it kind of stops. So I don't want to force it. That does go through the gears. I sat there and spun the sprocket, and it does get neutral and first and second. So the transmission is working. I wanted to let this soak or maybe heat the cylinders up before I try to turn it over, but I'll leave that up to the next person because I don't know nothing about it. It does have the air-cooled Harley-Davidson spark plugs in it, the number 4s, which have some value of their own. I wanted to leave them in there because that's where they were, and I wanted to keep this just the way I found it. There is a few chips here and there on the cylinders, but as a whole they look real nice. I mean, if you look, I think maybe this one here is chipped out, these two, and these are kind of chipped, which is common, I guess, but from what I've heard, some of them look like it took a hammer to them, so I don't think this one's that bad. The only other thing I found on the casing is right here, this little corner is chipped out. Otherwise, everything looks real good. I don't know if this is grooved out in the factory or that rubbed, but it is what it is. I ain't making any more of them. So this is K1000W on the tranny. Down here on the oil pump cover, it says K1200, but according to the numbers, it is 1924 Deluxe from the information I gathered on the internet. So that's about all I know.